good soup.
There are two types of reality which lie beyond our conscious experience, the being of the object of consciousness and the consciousness itself. The object of consciousness exists as in itself, that is, in an independent and non-relational way. However, the consciousness is always consciousness of something, so it is defined in relation to something else, and it is not possible to grasp it within a conscious experience. It exists as for itself.
What? I don't believe it. Chad wasn't always an idiot.
Who's the man who leads the dead masses who's a sex machine to all the lasses?
Night's King!
Yeah, damn right.
So our episode begins with Sansa doing some top-notch embroidery work when a letter arrives with a very neat wax seal, as opposed to this piece of hot mess. Do you get it? Hot mess? Wax?
Still banking on a northern conspiracy, eh?
Fuck yes.
Still hoping Stannis is alive?
I haven't seen any body yet.
So then, are you fucking kidding me? Littlefinger made it to Molestown? That Littlefinger jetpack is absolutely insane.
So then Sansa asks what every viewer of Season 5 asks. What the fuck were you thinking, Littlefinger? Why on earth would anyone hand over Sansa to Ramsay? Littlefinger's answer is, well, actually he doesn't give one, because there is no logical answer. He claims he didn't know Ramsay's character, which according to Sansa means he's an idiot.
Maybe it was part of his master plan that she survive a 3-story fall the whole time.
And that Theon saves her from Miranda.
And that Brienne saves them from those Bolton men.
And that those hounds vanish.
I think the showrunners are thinking that if they point out the lack of logic, that somehow we'll forgive it.
Anyway, we also find out that the Knights of the Vale are at Moat Cailin. Does Moat Cailin have any military function in the show? Why did Theon get it back for Ramsay if it's useless?
Anyway, then we find out that the waif was actually going totally easy on blind Arya. Arya goes down as easy as Glass Joe. Waif rubs it in by calling her Lady Stark. Jaqen gives a bit of a history lesson and claims that the city of Braavos was founded by faceless men.
That's a bit different from the book. It's hard to imagine a bunch of assassins founding a city. Farming, building roads, starting families. It just doesn't seem possible if everyone is no one.
Anyway, Jaqen gives her poison and a target, so Arya heads to a play to scope out an actress.
Of course, the play is coincidentally all about Arya's family, which of course would be naturally upsetting. Arya even relives her father's beheading.
Her target doesn't seem worthy of being killed. It seems like the Faceless Men are fucking with Arya and messing with her emotions. In the book, someone off her death list shows up at the play, and she ends up screwing up the Braavosi political environment going after him. I wonder if, like in the book, the Faceless Men have more lofty ambitions than just killing random targets.
And then in a very nonchalant fashion, we find out the origin of the White Walkers. By the way, all of those pillars in the background are very similar to ones shown in the first episode of Game of Thrones. The Children of the Forest created the White Walkers as a weapon against mankind.
Holy crap, is that me? I look fucking awesome. Wait, what are you guys doing? Ow! Ow! Reliving it all.
Now we have no idea how much of this relates to the book, but at least in the show the implications are enormous. It's the children that are responsible for the White Walkers and the apparent climate change of the world, and not mystical Azor Ahai-related prophecy. Of course, it's still unknown what's causing the current White Walker crisis. Why have they returned after thousands of years? Are the children responsible for that? If not, who is? Which brings us to the King's Moot, which is something I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Yara comes forward and claims the throne with a remarkably poor understanding of history. She claims the Ironborn have never made their mark. What? As if Heron the Black was a nobody?
Maybe Heron the Black wasn't Ironborn in the show? Maybe Harrenhal was built by Heron Frey?
Yara also seems to go back on the beliefs she had a few episodes ago. Previously, she was upset at Balon's warring, and yet here she is warmongering again, claiming she will build a fleet and make a mark.
Yara's speech does not go over well, and Theon has to vouch for her. He is clearly a much better public speaker and commands more respect, which would make me wonder why he isn't running if I were an Ironborn.
Anyway, Euron arrives with an even dumber plan. He will build a fleet and offer it to Daenerys in exchange for a marriage. I'm sorry, how long is it going to take to build that fleet and sail to Daenerys? Years? As far as Euron knows at this point, Dany has a fleet. And even if she didn't, Dany is fabulously powerful at this point, and has been for years. The Yunkai have been offering her ships, and Illyrio is a rich man and probably can get her some. I might be a tad more on board with Euron if the ships actually existed at this moment. But he's talking about hypothetical ships that he still needs to build. And he admitted in front of everybody that he killed the king, and they were all cool with that? If I were Ironborn, I'd be looking for another choice. I am Gilbert Farwind of the Lonely Light.
Gilbert, where were you? You missed the King's Moot.
What? The King's Moot is this coming Sunday.
No, the King's Moot was last Sunday. You missed it.
But I was told on Friday that the King's Moot was next Sunday.
And that would have been last Sunday.
When I heard next, I assumed it was the Sunday after this Sunday.
Well, it's too late now. Euron was made king. They drowned him and he came back even without CPR. And they made him look all like Jesus when they put the driftwood crown on him. And then Theon and Yara stole all of the ships and I assume they're heading for Slaver's Bay.
Idiots! Idiots! They're sailing the wrong way. They should be sailing west, not east. Son of a bitch. Meanwhile in the Dothraki Sea, Jorah reveals to Dany that he has grayscale. And so Dany commands him to go off and find a cure and return to her. Now this scene really hit home for me because just last week my friend Pedro told me that he had terminal pancreatic cancer. And so I commanded him to go off and find the cure.
But Brandon, don't you rule over thousands of people?
Yes, I do.
And some of those people are doctors, yes?
Yes, of course. I literally rule over hundreds of doctors. Undead doctors, yes, but doctors nonetheless. In fact, the medical care that I rule over is perhaps the best medical care within hundreds if not thousands of miles.
So despite the fact that you have hundreds of doctors at your disposal and have the best medical care within hundreds if not thousands of miles, you sent Pedro off to find a cure on his own.
Yeah, I'm what you'd call a medical libertarian. I believe everyone is responsible for their own medical care. You know, we have a lot of opportunity in this world, and if you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you can cure yourself. Plus, I ordered Pedro to do it, and I'm pretty sure he's in love with me, so he's pretty motivated.
Meanwhile, over in Slaver's Bay, Tyrion's efforts have been completely successful. Still, for some reason, he feels the need to call upon a Red Priestess from Volantis in order to get followers of the Red God on his side. Of course, generally speaking, Western society knows what a boneheaded idea it is to combine church and state. And Book Tyrion knows this as well. However, Show Tyrion goes down the same foolish path as Stannis and his sister.
Interestingly, the priestess knows intimate details about Varys' castration, which makes me wonder what the religion of the Red God's role was in cutting him.
Meanwhile, north of the wall, Bran is bored and hooks himself back into the werewood net, and for some reason, he finds himself near the White Walkers. Now, I was under the impression that the Children of the Forest and the Three-Eyed Raven controlled the werewood net. So why would they send Bran here? And even if they didn't, of all the places in space and time, he ends up at the Night King for some reason? Something is fishy, and the Three-Eyed Raven even knows that he's been touched. Was this all planned?
Meanwhile at the wall, the Alliance of the Goody Two-Shoes is trying to figure out their next move. Davos and Sansa have a bit of a pissing contest, but in the end they all end up determining that if they have all of the rest of the Northerners together, they might stand a chance against Ramsay. Weirdly, Sansa wants to bring in the Blackfish, which honestly seems like a bad move considering he just retook Riverrun. He really shouldn't have any extra forces to spare. But that's the story of the Riverlands. They give and they give and they give, and they get nothing but shit in the end. The Vale army, which sounds like it could crush everyone, is suspiciously not mentioned. In the end, Brienne is sent to the Riverlands to put her more on the book plot. Lady Stoneheart hype.
Elaine, I think I love you. I've got to get going. Get going? Where could you be going to? I've got to go to the bathroom. What do you mean? You just came back from the bathroom. Yeah, you don't understand. You're a boy. I need to, change my maxi pad. Change your maxi pad? Change your maxi pad. Change your maxi pad. Change your maxi pad. Change your maxi pad. Change my pad. Chad.
Dude, I am awesome. Which brings us to our final scene. Who's that pimp? Oh, it's me. Anyway, the party has arrived. But for some reason, the Three-Eyed Raven is showing Bran scenes from his dad's childhood. It's like he wants this next stuff to go down. Despite thousands of years of practice, the Children of the Forest have horrible aim. And so Mira panics and tells Bran to walk into Mordor. And the Three-Eyed Raven even encourages that shit. Poor Hodor. Poor Summer. Poor Chad. But don't feel bad for the Three-Eyed Raven. That guy totally deserved it. And frankly, so did Leaf. And this is the sad part. Bran ruined Hodor's life, and then forced him to kill himself holding a door so Bran and Mira could get away. All the while turning the story into a weird time travel loop. But let's be honest, how long do you think Hodor can hold that door? Let's be really generous and say an hour. How far is Mira gonna get dragging that sled? And let's say Cold Hands saves her. Why wasn't Cold Hands waiting outside that door? Poor Willis, your life was stolen from you.
Oh boy, we have a lot to discuss at the serious Q&A. Put your questions below with Q&A : I will likely spend the whole Q&A talking about Bran, the Children of the Forest, the Three-Eyed Raven, and time travel. But who knows, other questions may make it in. See you in a couple days.